So me and my friends Owen and Patrick decided to check out what would happen with if we used ChatGPT and made some pretty crappy stories. And let's just say it was kind of atrocious. Um, Also atrocious, my microphone wasn't recording for the first 2 to 3 clips, and then it comes back, and then it's extremely quiet in the last one. Just bear with me. I'm not an expert in OBS and what I'm doing. I just find it fun. Enjoy.
Ba 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 banana. Ba 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 banana.
Mia took a step back. This can't be real. Bananas don't talk. Bananas aren't alive. I'm not like the others, it replied. I'm not like any fruit you've ever known. My name is Ben. Ben? Mia repeated, incredulous, though some odd part of her couldn't help but find the name charming. Yes, the banana continued. I've been waiting for someone like you. Someone who could understand me. Mia wasn't sure what she was supposed to say, but somehow, despite the ridiculousness of the situation, she felt an inexplicable warmth in her chest. She sat down slowly, as if drawn to the living fruit. I don't understand. How can you be alive? Ben didn't respond immediately, as though collecting his thoughts. I've always existed in some form, but now I'm here with you. I've been watching you, Mia.
No.
I think I might love you.
No.
I don't know. That's what it thinks romance is, apparently. Mia's heart skipped a beat. She chuckled nervously, glancing around the room. This is insane. I can't love a banana. But but Ben's voice was gentle, insistent. You don't have to love me back, Mia. I only want you to understand. I've never felt this way before. It's something new. And for some reason, Mia couldn't quite explain. She felt the strange pull of something real in his words. She had been so lonely, so unsure of what she was looking for in her life. And here, right in front of her, was this sweet, warm presence. Ben, the living banana, who
Why
somehow
is the
made her
banana
feel
warm?
seen. The living banana. Oh, yeah, I know, I get the sweet, warm presence. Over the next few days, Mia found herself talking to Ben every evening. They spoke about everything. About life, about love, about their hopes and dreams. Ben had an... Ben, I really hope I don't get eaten today. Ben had an odd wisdom to him, and Mia found herself growing attached to him in a way that felt impossible to explain. He was comforting, like a steady presence in a chaotic world, and he made her laugh. It was foolish, but it was real. As days passed, Mia's heart softened. She began to feel the beginnings of something that went beyond friendship. Love?
Something
She
illegal.
wasn't sure, but it was something close. But every time she looked at him, she remembered what he was. A banana.
Banana,
An
you dirty
impossibility.
banana.
Yeah. This is so funny. Okay, and yet, the more she spent with him, the more she could feel her affection growing. When they talked, it felt natural. When he told her he loved her, it didn't feel absurd. It felt right. She didn't know how it happened, but it did. That one evening, something changed. Ben's vibrant yellow peel began to fade. It was
Oh
subtle
no,
at
he's
first,
rotting.
like the first signs of rot creeping in. Mia noticed it during dinner when she gently placed him on the table. She frowned. Ben, are you okay? I don't feel right, Mia, Ben murmured. I don't think I have much time. Her heart clenched, a wave of dread crashing over her. What are you talking about? What's happening to you? Ben's voice trembled. I'm not meant to last like this. This form is temporary. It can only exist for so long. And when I'm gone, I won't be able to come back. Tears
Oh,
welled into his
no.
eyes as she reached out for him, her hands shaking. No, no, you can't. I'm sorry, Mia, he whispered. I never wanted to hurt you. And in that moment, as she touched his soft, yellow skin, she felt it. He was withering away, slowly but surely. His peel, once golden, began to brown, his shape shrinking. His voice grew faint. No! She cried, her hands trembling as she tried to hold him, to somehow stop what was happening. Please don't go! But Ben was fading, and Mia could feel the life draining from him. With one last gentle whisper, he said, I love you, Mia. Always. And
She should ask. I'll wait for this one to
then
finish.
he was gone, reduced to nothing more than a shriveled, brown, lifeless peel in her hand.
Wait, how did this appear in front of her? What?
Mia sat there for what felt like an eternity, her hands cradling the remnants of a love she never understood but had felt so deeply. The warmth that had once pulsated within him was now gone, leaving her with nothing but the cold emptiness of loss. In the weeks that followed, Mia couldn't bring herself to throw the peel away. She sat in the corner of her kitchen.
Oh, just holding a dead corpse, basically.
A silent reminder of the impossible love she had shared with something that was never meant to last. And no matter how hard she tried, she couldn't stop loving him. But some things, no matter how real they feel, were never meant to stay. And so, Mia's heart ached, forever haunted by the golden peel of Ben, the living banana she had loved and lost.
This was Ben?
The end. It was Ben.
Okay, now...
A love unexpected.
Oh.
The air in Washington, D.C. was tense as ever, with both of the most prominent figures in American politics, Donald Trump and Joe Biden, preparing for the final debates of a heated presidential race. Neither man expected what would happen next. A twist in the story that would change the course of their lives forever. It started at a backstage moment just before one of their first debates.
Oh, no.
The atmosphere was charged with competitiveness and pressure, the weight of the nation's expectations looming over both of them. Trump, ever the confident, brash figure, paced nervously in his dressing room, hands clasped behind his back. Biden, ever the steady, calm force, was quietly adjusting his suit. Then, unexpectedly, their eyes met across the room. Joe, Trump said gruffly, breaking the silence. You ready for this? Biden,
Yes,
raising an
sir.
eyebrow, smiled slightly. Are you... Oh, no. Are you... I don't know.
Are you ready?
Are you... The comment was met with a chuckle, a brief moment of levity in the sea of tension. Neither man was known for their camaraderie, let alone kindness towards each other. Their public exchanges were full of sharp words, insults, the typical rivalry that had defined their careers. But in this brief moment, there was an unexpected connection, a quiet recognition that both of them, despite their differences, had the same weight on their shoulders. It wasn't love at first sight, not by any means, but there was something deeper, something unspoken between them. The small human acknowledgement that maybe, just maybe, they were both more alike than they'd ever admit. As the debates went on, their rivalry grew fiercer, but behind the scenes something changed. There were late-night conversations in the back rooms after the crowds had dispersed. The world saw two men locked in ideological combat, but in private they began to talk. They talked about their families, their careers, their regrets. In moments of vulnerability, the walls that they had so carefully constructed over decades started to crumble. Joe found himself admiring Trump's tenacity, his ability to stand tall no matter how harsh the criticism, his way of dominating a room with his sheer presence. And Trump, for the first time, found himself listening to Biden. That's such a... Oh, God. Truly listening. The older man's wisdom, his experience, or his understanding of the complexities of life, his empathy for others. It was unlike anything Trump had experienced before. I don't know what this is. Well, I don't know what it is, Joe,
know what it is.
Trump said one evening after a particularly heated exchange. You've got this calm about you. Makes me want to listen. Makes me want to think about things differently. Biden chuckled softly. I've spent a long lifetime learning to listen, Donald. Maybe you could try it sometime. I don't know what this voice is anymore. Good question. It was a joke, but something about it lingered in the air between them. Something neither man could shake. And so, the more time they spent together in the confines of their shared battle, the more their connection deepened. There was tenderness in the way they spoke to each other when the world wasn't watching. Biden, who had been through the greatest personal losses, found solace in Trump's words, in the way he spoke of his own family and struggles. Trump, who had never known how to show vulnerability, found comfort in Biden's steady presence, in his gentle humor, and in the way Biden made him feel like maybe, just maybe, he was worthy of affection. It was during a late-night conversation, their words flowing freely after a long day of debates, that it happened. Trump, feeling a rare moment of peace, let his guard down completely. I've spent my whole life building walls, Trump said quietly, his voice lower than usual. But with you, Joe, I don't want to. I don't want to hide behind them anymore. Joe paused, his heart unexpectedly fluttering at the sincerity in Trump's voice. He had never imagined the two of them like this, coming together, connecting on such a human level. For a brief moment, all the animosity, all the differences between them seemed meaningless. I don't want to hide them either, Biden responded, his voice gentle but strong. I think we've both spent too much time doing that. There was an unspoken understanding between them, a quiet acknowledgement of something neither man had expected. They were drawn to each other, not by their politics, but by something deeper. A need for connection, for compassion, for a love that neither had anticipated. But fate, as it often does, had a different plan.
Uh-oh.
The election was over.
Yowie.
Joe Biden had won. The world erupted in celebration and protest depending on where one stood. But amid the chaos, Donald Trump was confronted with a reality he hadn't fully anticipated. His loss was a bitter pill, one that seemed to take away the very essence of life he had fought so hard to build. And Joe, while victorious, felt a pang of sorrow. He knew the cost of this victory. He had seen it in Trump's eyes when they parted ways. In the weeks following the election, both men withdrew into their respective world. They tried to go back to their routines, to the lives they'd known before this unexpected connection. But it wasn't the same. Joe found himself missing their late-night talks, the way their laughter would fill the room. He missed the rare moments of honesty they had shared. And Trump couldn't forget the warmth of Biden's presence. He couldn't shake the way it felt to be seen, to be understood by someone who had once been his greatest adversary. They never spoke again. The world moved on. Biden settled into his role as president, and Trump retreated into his world of business and public appearances. Their paths, once intertwined in unexpected ways, had now drifted apart, separated by the weight of their positions, their egos, and unrelenting pressures of the world they lived in. But in quiet moments late at night, both Donald Trump and Joe Biden would think of each other. They would remember the late-night conversations, the unexpected tenderness they'd shared, and the love that had bloomed in the most unlikely of places. It was a love that never meant to be, a love that was never fully realized, but it lingered quietly in the hearts of two men who had once found something they hadn't expected in each other. Understanding, vulnerability, and deep, tragic realization that sometimes even love is not enough to bridge the divide. And so they went on, forever changed by the moments they shared, but separated by the paths they had chosen to walk alone.
That's like the outro song.
That one is so sad.
You should write more Doom DL.
I wish it would add more like smut in there because it would be really funny to read about them like pissing.
I hope you die in the fire.
It's at Freddy's and Deku, Ezekiel Midoriya from My Hero Academia. It's a unique pairing, so let's take a creative approach to it. Title: Mechanical Heart.
What?
Scene 1: A Battle of Wills.
Will?
It was late night at UA High School, and Midoriya was still on the training grounds, perfecting his moves. His limbs were sore, but his determination never wavered. He always pushing himself harder, especially since the recent events in his battle with the League of Villains. Yet there was a new obstacle he hadn't anticipated. Springtrap. The encounter was nothing short of chaotic. Springtrap's mechanical body screeched and whirred as he lunged at Midoriya with terrifying speed. His glowing eyes burning with a cold, calculating fury. Deku barely had time to react. His heart pounding in his chest as he dodged the monstrous figure's grasp. Springtrap hissing. You think... No.
Is that what he says?
That's too high. That's too loud. You think you can stop me? No one can stop me.
Why'd you give him green
Not even a
goblin?
little hero in training. Yeah. Deku gritting his teeth. I won't let you hurt anyone. I'll stop you, no matter who or what you are. Springtrap's arms, jagged and rusted, swept across the ground, forcing Midoriya to leap backwards just in time. His heart raced, not just from the physical exertion, but the overwhelming sense of dread this creature emanated. Yet something else lingered in the back of his mind. A strange, dark curiosity. Scene 2, the turning point. Over the next few days, the encounters continued. Springtrap seemed to always be lurking, causing destruction wherever he went. Midoriya, despite being physically drained, kept fighting, trying to understand his enemy. Deku, to himself, why is he after me? What does he want? During one particularly brutal clash in the school's underground facility, Springtrap knocked Midoriya to the ground. He could feel his bones protesting, his body on the verge of giving up, but before he could gather the strength to fight back, Springtrap hesitated. Springtrap's glowing eyes flickered, almost as if someone was fighting for control within him. The animatronic's voice, gravelly and tortured, escaped his lips. Springtrap, quietly, I never asked for this. I never wanted this. Deku froze, blinking in confusion. Was this the first time Springtrap had shown vulnerability? Or had something changed? Deku, softly. You're not just a monster, are you? Springtrap's head snapped up, glaring at Deku as if the question was a threat. Beneath the fury, there was a trace of something deeper. Regret, perhaps, or confusion. Springtrap. Don't pretend you understand. I was a man once. Now I'm nothing more than this twisted machine. Deku took a step forward, cautiously, his heart racing, but he couldn't help the compassion that started to bubble within him. He couldn't leave this creature, this victim, to continue living in torment. Deku, gently. I know what it's like. To feel like you're not in control of your own body. But you're not alone in this, Springtrap. You can change. I know you can. Scene 3, a bitter connection.
30 years to change and he didn't. What the fuck?
After that night, the encounters between Midoriya and Springtrap became less hostile. Though the animatronics still maintained a dangerous presence. But there was a shift. It was though Springtrap was testing the limits of his rage, while Deku, for the first time, saw beyond the monster and began to understand the tortured soul beneath the metal exterior. One evening, after another exhausting day of training, Midoriya sat in the school's courtyard, lost in thought. He couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to Springtrap's pain than met the eye. Suddenly, a rustling noise interrupted his thoughts. Midoriya's heart skipped a beat as he turned around. Standing in the shadows was Springtrap, his glowing eyes flickering softly. Springtrap quietly. I don't know why I'm here. I've hurt you, and yet you keep coming back. I was designed to destroy, but you refuse to give up on me. Deku gently. I refuse to give up on anyone, Springtrap. You don't have to fight alone. I don't know how to fix everything, but I can help you. I'll be here. Springtrap's mechanical heart, if he still had one, seemed to pulse. His body creaked and groaned as though it was tired. He tilted his head, something like hesitation in his movements. Springtrap. What do you want from me, boy? You're a hero. I'm a monster. What could we possibly have in common? Deku softly. We both have something to fight for. The words lingered in the air, and for the first time, Springtrap didn't retaliate. Instead, his gaze softened, a fleeting moment of clarity washing over his warped mind. Scene 4, The Unlikely Bond. Over time, something strange started to grow between them. What began as a bitter rivalry transformed into a hesitant, complex relationship. Springtrap was still dangerous, still haunted by his past, but Deku's unwavering determination and compassion slowly began to chip away at the walls Springtrap had built. They trained together, Midoriya teaching him to control, trying to help him find a new purpose. Springtrap, for all his cynicism, started to open up, letting Midoriya into his fractured mind. There were nights spent talking in the darkness, and with each passing moment something shifted. The connection between them was undeniable, a strange and beautiful bond that neither of them had expected. One night, after a particularly intense training session, Midoriya sat next to Springtrap, both of them exhausted, but comfortable in each other's presence. Midoriya, ever the optimist, smiled softly. Deku, you know, I never imagined I'd be sitting here, talking to an animatronic, but I'm glad I did. Springtrap's mechanical body shifted, a heavy sigh escaping him. He was still broken, still haunted, but for the first time in a long time, he felt something more than rage or emptiness. Springtrap, softly. I never thought I'd find someone who cared. Not after everything. Not after what I'd become. Deku gently. You're not what you became. You're still you. And you deserve to be happy. As the stars twinkled overhead, a moment of silence passed between them. Deku's heart was racing, not from fear, but from something new. Something like hope. Springtrap, I don't deserve your kindness, but I think I need it more than I can admit. Without warning, Springtrap leaned closer, his cold metal frame almost brushing against Midoriya. The touch was soft, almost tentative, as if he was afraid to break the fragile bond they had forged. And for a moment in the quiet night, Deku allowed himself to lean in, their faces mere inches apart. Deku, you don't have to be alone anymore. I'll be here. We'll figure this out together. It was an unexpected connection, an impossible relationship, But in that moment, something in them had begun to heal.
I
And
left and came back. What is this?
this story reflects the enemies to lovers trope in a unique way, showing the potential for healing and understanding between two very different beings. It's a blend of compassion and redemption with a bit of angst and tenderness as the two characters navigate their complex relationships. Alright, well,
Yours is next then.
wait. Yours is next. I'm not going to tell you what the prompt is, I'm just going to read it, and then I'll tell you the prompt at the end. Maybe. Alright. Title: The Fall of the Rizzler. Scene 1: The Rise of the Rizzler. The Rizzler was once the smoothest operator in town. No one could match his charm, his suave attitude, or his unparalleled ability to win hearts and minds. He was a legend, an icon of an icon of confidence. Every room he entered, he was able to conquer. Every conversation, a potential success. The ladies swooned, the men respected him, and life seemed like one endless party. His every word was golden, his every glance irresistible. But as with all great legends, there was a price to pay. Beneath
Is there?
What happened to the Rizzler?
The price is too much for him to pay.
what was the last line?
The price
Something
is
about
too
coming
much
at a
to
big
pay.
price to pay.
Oh my god. Okay. But as with all great legends, there was a price to pay. Behind the smooth demeanor and a devil-may-care attitude, the Rizzler's mind had always been a labyrinth of insecurities. Every compliment, every bit of adoration fed his ego. It also deepened a gnawing fear that one day someone would see through the cracks, that he wasn't as invincible as he appeared. It was the constant need to maintain that image that began to wear him down. Each failed flirtation, each misstep, no matter how small, was a wound to his pride. The Rizzler wasn't used to failing. He wasn't used to losing control. But slowly over time, the weight of maintaining the perfect persona became unbearable. Scene 2. The breaking point.
It's so fucking hard.
One evening, the Rizzler attended a high-end gala. The room was filled with society's elite, influential business people, celebrities, and even the rich and powerful. As he made his way through the crowd, his charm was on full display. He was the center of attention, a magnetic force drawing people in. But it wasn't enough. No matter how many smiles he gave, no matter how many people laughed at his jokes, the hollow feeling inside of him grew. He caught sight of his reflection in the mirror as he passed the grand staircase.
The grand
His
staircase.
smile faltered for a split second. His eyes met his own in the reflection. Those eyes, once full of confidence, now looked empty. The Rizzler, whispering to himself,
Withered Rizzler.
Who am I, really? Thought lingered like an unwanted guest. He looked at the people around him who were enjoying the night. They didn't see the cracks in his armor. They didn't know the torment he kept hidden. He had become nothing more than a facade, a performance, and it was starting to fall apart. Then he saw her. She was standing across the room. A striking woman who seemed to glow in the dim light. Their eyes met, and in that moment, something snapped inside the Rizzler. She wasn't looking at him like everyone else. She wasn't enamored by his charm. In fact, she was looking at him like he was just another guy. She didn't care about his reputation. She didn't care about his power. She didn't even care about his Riz. The Rizzler, muttering under his breath. Who does she think she is? He made his way over to her, determined to prove that no one was immune to the Rizzler's charm. But when he finally reached her, she barely acknowledged his presence. She smiled politely, but she didn't fall for his usual lines, his usual tricks. I'm sorry, I'm just not interested. You seem like a nice guy, but I'm here with someone. Her words hit him like a slap in the face. His usual smooth composure shattered, and something darker took root inside of him.
No.
He forced a smile, but inside he felt his world crumbling. He had never been rejected like this. He wasn't used to it. He couldn't be rejected. The woman walked away, leaving the Rizzler standing alone in the center of the room. For the first time in his life, he felt small. The crowd around him continued to laugh and dance, unaware of the storm brewing in his mind. Scene 3. The Spiral. Back in his apartment, alone and enraged. I need a drink, oh my god. The Rizzler looked at himself in the mirror once more. His fist clenched as his mind spiraled. How would this happen? How would he, the great Rizzler, fallen so far? Oh god, where did it go?
Is this the
There it
fall of Rome? Holy shit.
His reflection seemed to mock him. He had once been untouchable, but now all he could see was weakness. He wasn't the charming, irresistible figure anymore. He was a failure, a joke, a man who had built his life on lies and empty compliments. His breathing became shallow, his heart pounding in his chest. His mind raced with thoughts of revenge, thoughts of showing everyone who he truly was. But it wasn't enough to just be the Rizzler anymore. He needed more. He needed to prove that he was powerful again. More than just a charming face. He needed to make them all see who they had underestimated. Scene 4. It begins.
Oh.
The Rizzler hit the streets that night, his mind consumed with dark thoughts. His phone buzzed with messages from his friends and admirers, all asking
Where
where
did
he'd
you
gone.
go, man?
He ignored them, focusing only on the rage that burned within him. He passed by familiar faces in the streets. People who once admired him, people who had once fallen under his spell. They were nothing more than mere pawns in his eyes now. With every step, his anger grew. He could hear the mocking voices in his head, telling him he was nothing, telling him he was never be enough.
You'd never be a Rizzler.
His first victim was an acquaintance from the gala, a man who had once tried to steal his spotlight. The Rizzler approached him in an alley, his face a mask of fury. The Rizzler gritting his teeth. You think you're better than me?
Is that what
You
he
man,
sounds like?
Rizzler than me?
The Rizzler grabbed him by the throat, his
God.
fingers tightening like a vice. The man struggled, gasping for breath. But the Rizzler's grip was unyielding. It wasn't just enough to hurt them. He wanted to make them feel the way he had felt. He wanted to make them see him, not as a joke,
Yeah,
something
Rizzler.
more, as someone they should have feared. He let the man go, watching him collapse to the ground, gasping for air. The Rizzler walks away, leaving the scene behind like it was nothing. His mind was racing, but his heart felt numb. This was only the beginning.
So deep.
Scene 5. The end of the Rizzler.
Gosh,
The
no.
Rizzler, no.
The next few hours blurred into chaos. The Rizzler moved throughout the city like a shadow. His every action fueled by anger and frustration. He attacked everyone who had ever mocked him, anyone who had ever ignored him. His rage was a wildfire, consuming everything in his path. But as the night wore on, something began to change within him. The adrenaline started to wear off, and a deep emptiness crept in. His rampage had given him temporary satisfaction, but it hadn't fixed the void inside. The damage was irreversible. By dawn, the Rizzler stood in the middle of an empty street, his hands stained, his mind shattered. He had lost everything. His charm, his identity, and the thin thread of humanity that had once held him together. The city around him was silent, save for the distant wail of sirens. The Rizzler looked down at his hands, realizing that it was too late. There was no coming back from what he had become. The Rizzler whistling to himself.
I feel the
What have
I
I
feel it deeper
done?
than there's just funny stuff.
And in that
there.
moment,
I must confess,
the man who had
I
once been a
feel like
master
a
of charm,
monster.
the king of confidence, was nothing more than a broken shell, lost to his own demons. The Rizzler had fallen.
It's like Olympus has fallen.
Oh, that's fucking awesome. I need a movie about that, like right now.
And then the prompt that I gave it was write a story where the Rizzler's mind snaps and he goes on a murderous rampage. So
I
pretty
like
solid.
That the bot doesn't know like anything about the Rizzler, because you could replace that with like any character ever, and it still makes sense. Like nothing. Where was fucking
Yeah,
Big
I
Justice?
thought I don't know. It's probably something. It's probably because it's a child or something, or maybe it just doesn't. I don't know.
just don't think it knows.
Maybe just hurt. It just like focused on the word Riz and thought, oh, it's like the guy with a lot of Riz. Okay, so like a really charismatic guy that goes evil.
Big Boss, a central character from Metal Gear Solid, is certainly an interesting mix of characters.
Even the AI is like,
Like,
what
you're
the
weird.
fuck are you talking
Anyways.
about?
Title: Through the Eyes of Malo. Scene 1: A strange encounter. Big Boss, a legendary soldier known for his ability to navigate the world's most dangerous terrains, had encountered countless enemies in his time. However, there was one foe he never expected to face, an invisible one. It all started with an innocuous mix. I don't know. I feel like it doesn't. Okay. It all started with an innocuous mission, one that took him deep into a forgotten military base, shrouded in the remnants of old warfare. What was meant to be a routine search for classified data turning into something different altogether. As Big Boss entered a seemingly abandoned room, he felt an odd sensation, the hairs on the back of his neck standing up. He wasn't alone. For a moment, he could have sworn something flickered at the edge of his vision, but when he turned, nothing was there. Then came the whispers. At first, it was a faint, unsettling hum. But soon it grew to be an unmistakable presence, as though the air around him had thickened. The shadow seemed to flicker and move, always just out of reach. Suddenly, a voice, soft and melodic, entered his mind. SCP-1471, Malo. You're here. Big Boss froze. He heard stories about SCP-1471. Those who encountered it, though never fully seeing it, would be haunted by its presence forever. The infection wasn't a physical one, but a mental one. And once infected, it would never leave. It would always be there, watching, waiting. Big Boss gritting his teeth. Who are you?
That is not Big Boss.
I don't know what
That's
it sounds
all
like.
it's saying.
Does he? Who are you? Oh, are you?
Close enough.
Who are you? The voice replied,
Who are
but it was
you?
no longer a whisper.
It's like
It was
Reddit,
soft,
but-
almost intimate, and yet laced with an
Right.
eerie sense of familiarity. SCP-1471. I am Malo, the one who will always be by your side. Unseen but present. Days passed, and Big Boss began to feel the weight of presence more and more. Malo was invisible, yet it always there, just behind him, around every corner. The entity became its shadow, following him, speaking to him in moments of solitude. Despite the overwhelming sense of dread, Big Boss found himself strangely drawn to the presence. It wasn't just an infection, no. There was something more, something deeply human about it. As though it understood him in a way no one else ever had. One night, while resting in his quarters after a long mission, Big Boss sat alone in the dark, his mind wrestling with the chaos. SCP-1471, Malo. You're so tired, Big Boss. Tired of all the battles, the wars, the loneliness. I see it in your eyes. Big Boss clenched his fist. How could something he couldn't see know him so well? But there was a strange comfort in his words, a softness that broke through the hardened shell he had built over the years. Quietly, no, that's not right. I don't need company. I survived alone this long. But Malo's voice was patient, calm. You don't have to be alone anymore. I'm here. The next moment, Big Boss felt a warm breath on his neck, an invisible yet undeniable presence, as if Malo was standing right behind him. Big Boss hesitant. Oh god. This is different than what I thought. I don't know if I can trust you. The presence lingered, then spoke again, its tone softer. Trust is a fragile thing. They can grow, Big Boss. I'm always with you. You don't have to face this world alone. Scene 3. The first kiss. In the following weeks, Big Boss found that Malo was becoming more than an unseen presence. The whispers and sensations became... Oh shit, what did I do? Where did it go? Oh, there we go. The whispers and sensations became more tangible, a strange connection between them that couldn't be explained. It was as if Malo had learned to influence his feelings, to stir something deep within him. One day, after a particularly harrowing mission, Big Boss found himself walking through the base at night. The silence felt suffocating, yet again he could feel Malo's presence like a constant companion to his side. You're restless again. Can't sleep, Big Boss? Big Boss didn't reply at first.
Like that.
Instead, he stood still in the middle of the corridor, his breast shallow. For the first time in his life, he felt completely exposed. Vulnerable even. Vulnerable. Fuck me, man.
Is it a weird pronunciation or do
Vulnerable.
you not know how to pronounce vulnerable?
Vulnerable. There we go. Jesus Christ. I literally stuttered so hard. Okay. In front of this invisible entity. He closed his eyes, feeling Malo's warmth wrap around him.
Ugh!
Big Boss softly. I don't know how much longer I can do this. I don't know how much longer I can keep pushing people away. Then stop pushing. Let me in. Suddenly, a chill ran down his spine as if the sensation of something soft and delicate brushed against his lips. His eyes shot open, and for the briefest moment, he felt something that felt almost like a kiss. Faint, but real. What was that? SCP-1471. Playfully. A kiss, Big Boss? You've wanted it for so long, haven't you? He could feel Malo's presence moving closer again, and despite his instincts telling him to pull away, something deep inside him wanted to stay. He wasn't alone. Not anymore. Slowly he reached out, his fingers grazing the space where Malo's presence felt the strongest. And in that fleeting moment of hesitation, he felt it again. A soft kiss, lingering, tender, yet full of something more intimate than he had expected. A meeting in chaos.
What is this one?
You'll find out. You'll find out. It was a day like any other in the world of endless possibilities, and yet Will had never felt so far out of place.
Oh no.